Thank you everyone for the beautiful silence, deep stillness, and for resting as that. So in the context of this retreat, that is the essence of meditation. Simply resting as awareness. That which is already awake, already complete, already at rest, already unbounded, rather than sitting to still the mind or to experience a state of concentration, samadhi. Just much simpler than that. Just simply rest as true nature in its simplicity and profundity. Some people will call that true meditation. It's meditation without a meditator. And in this context, that's really the place where we begin to inquire, at least for our inquiry to have any depth or power to it. When we know the goal, then we can start inviting everything that arises in our experience to come home to that. And so if we look at the inquiry on the level of mind or thought, and we can rest as the witness, and just simply allow the thoughts to come and go. The way I describe inquiry or awakening on the level of mind is sort of a breaking through of the very superficial identities. You know, the ones I am a woman, I'm a man, I'm a mother, I'm a son. These ones that all of us have seen through. Those are the easy ones. As the inquiry deepens into deeper layers of our experience and begins to have more of an emotional charge to it. I mean, the thoughts are still there, the identities are still there, but they're more, they're stickier. There's more emotion, positive and negative, attached to it. And so the inquiry, you could say another level of emotion is it requires a little bit more sitting power, a little bit more clarity to see through ourselves at that level. It can certainly be useful to have, as we were speaking about earlier, a sense of willingness to go into the emotions rather than simply just witnessing them. And on the level of, we could say, experience of true nature, of presence, and the level of mind is more spacious, still, empty. And as it descends down more into the heart level, it begins to have a more alive feel to it. You can say it has more of the qualities of love and connection, unity. And that's also where the perception of oneness, the connection point between the witness and the witnessed lies. We could say it comes more from the level of the heart. It's the one looking through the heart. And it sees itself as other, as world. Even the thoughts, emotions, sensations, they can be seen, oh, I'm same. And then when the inquiry goes even deeper, you could say into the gut. You could say the deep unconsciousness, the archetypal realms, the aspects of our experience that are deeply repressed, the core beliefs. It can require even more sitting power, more clarity, more ability to rest as awareness. It certainly can require a sense of feeling completely, going into the feeling, allowing it to arise in our consciousness, but not in a detached way, but more of an engaged way, where it's as if it's energetically in our body-mind. It's a full body response. And when we contact these more core identities, these core negative beliefs, the contraction can be so intense that it grips our body energetically, we could say, before we can even penetrate it with any type of inquiry from the mind or even a sense of welcoming. It's just got us before we can even do anything. And that's certainly the place where it's really important to welcome our experience and feel into it. There's not really a lot we can do at this point to kind of more directly focus our inquiry to see through is too much. It's as if we're leaving some of our energy or consciousness in the mind, and this is stronger than that. Even on the level of sense of feeling, emotion, wanting to go into the emotion, being willing to move into the emotion. Eventually that burns out too. Because what I'm talking about, we could say it's the energetic core wound in our system, and we all know what that is. We've all touched upon that part in us that just contracts when it's triggered. We can't even track what it is. We can't even see the belief. We can't even distinguish the emotion. It just grips us, and we're triggered, and we've lost it, so to speak. And we usually contact that within some sort of an intimate relationship, or some relationship that triggers an old wound. So what to do? The body is much more useful as a portal, you could say, than even the emotions or the thoughts. I mean, the thoughts and the emotions are always there, the core beliefs, the identities, especially when you go into the core negative beliefs. I mean, they're constructed out of raw emotions like shame and guilt and rage and sadness and unworthiness, self-hatred. But it's not enough to know that. At a certain point, we just have to be willing to be torn open by the energetic aversion to that. And it's intense. It's intense. It's as if we're opening the door to our unconscious, and it's just flooding us, overwhelming us. So it's hard to remain conscious at that level of intensity. We try things. We have tools in our toolbox. These little chiropractic adjustments that can be useful. Allow us to kind of turn our attention back to that. But eventually we'll come to this point where nothing works anymore. Every technique we have in our toolbox runs, its usefulness gets extinguished. So even to say feel or stay with the core wound, I mean, it's a pointer, but what are we really pointing to? It's just this raw. For most of us, it's traumatic woundedness in our system. It just vibrates us. And eventually it does melt through. But it usually only melts through at its core when we're really deeply ready to let go of all experience. If there's part of us that's still grasping for bliss, we're not quite ready yet. There's part of us that's grasping for some past experience or for some perceived future experience. It's not a judgment, it's just a simple, you could say the internal mechanic is that if there's part of our, if there's a desire for something that's been experienced or to be experienced, or some other state than what's here now, the energy consciousness that's in that desire is the exact energy that is needed to keep us here and now and present and awake. And so when that longing for that, just the pure release from everything within us that's holding on to some belief of lack, of unworthiness, some sort of belief that it can die. It can be overwhelmed and die by the intensity of this emotion. That's really where the spiritual pointer or technique of not this is, that's really where its power lies. It's not about using the technique to escape into the witness. It's about simply saying to ourselves, to our experience, I don't care what arises, what tempts me, what desire, what aversion, what positive or negative emotion arises, it's not me. And to get here, it can be really useful to have this practice of self-love and self-forgiveness almost as a clearing technique. As there can be parts of ourselves that are just so infatuated with punishing themselves for feeling a certain feeling, or thinking a thought, or not being able to have prevented something, even one's own abuse. You really need to drop out of the adult mind and go directly to those parts of us that are still at that place where they can't conceive anything except blaming themselves for what's happening. It's natural for a child, for those parts of us to feel that way. And so the compassion is to allow those parts to emerge and be felt and be consoled with their own tears, because no one else was there to hear them. And so the true beauty of awakening, remembrance of who and what we really are, is when it really loops back on our humanity. There can be a sense of waking up to the emptiness, I am nothing. There can be a sense of waking up to oneness and a connection with everything. But the place that usually trips us up is when it comes to me. Everything is this but me. And at a certain point we can almost see the violence of escaping into transcendence when there's parts of ourselves that are calling us so strongly. And so this is certainly a place where I would invite everybody to be very gentle with themselves and give it whatever it needs. There's actually a vast intelligence in these parts of ourselves. They will tell us intuitively what they need. And if we're caught in this place that we can only give them what our adult mind would like to give them, we're not going to connect with them. But it's useful to have this sense of just let it come to you as a child would, and just cry in your arms. All children understand this. Just like all parts of ourselves and our unconscious understand love as well. They won't always understand the mind. They won't always understand the question, who am I, or who's experiencing this, or what is truth, what is God. But they understand love.